Welcome to Operation Successful Transition. In this podcast, my guests and I will be talking about the 4 pillars of housing, work, benefits, and mental health to open doors for veterans and connect you with the people you need to meet. We deeply appreciate your service and sacrifice and hope to help make your transition back to civilian life smoother. Your success is important. You are important. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Operation Successful Transition. I'm so excited today to introduce to you my friend Odie Gray. I met Odie at the Entrepreneurship Boot Camp for Veterans here at the McFerrin Center on campus at Texas A&M, and I'm super excited that he's finally here on the podcast with us. Mr. Gray is a disabled military veteran, cybersecurity professional, and businessman of 20 years, specializing in business program development and digital transformation. As a thought leader in this space, he's delivered strategic value to his clients by developing new cybersecurity service offerings and managing global teams to enhance cybersecurity programs for industry-leading organizations. Odie, tell us what all that means. That's a big mouthful of cybersecurity stuff.
Yeah, that is a mouthful, but to simplify it is that we help to protect digital assets for corporates and organizations, right? So data is the new gold, and if you do have gold, I'm sure you want to keep it somewhere in a safe, somewhere protected. Well, that's how we take the approach in terms of our digital assets of data. We want to make sure it's protected and safe and not accessible by the wrong parties. So that's what I help to do for our clients, help to develop strategies, help develop programs, help to implement solutions to protect their digital assets.
Yeah, nice. So what kind of companies are you working with? Is this like national security agencies or just regular old businesses or?
Really all across the board. There's an emphasis to work with the SMB, small medium business market, because there is a lot of state and federal regulations and law coming out that's going to impact the viability of them to remain in business, right? A lot of small and medium-sized businesses do not have mature cybersecurity programs and have tenured cybersecurity professionals because of budgeting and because of just not knowing the importance of, I would say, having that part of your workforce. But
Yeah.
the federal government is about to create, I would say, uh, more stringent standards, and at the state level as well, to have all businesses be able to prove some type of assurance that they can protect consumer data. Um, as we see with the EU, they already are at that standard. So we as a nation are coming along and really realizing the importance of protecting people's data and processing it for the right purposes.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a huge workforce of people working against you, right? They're hitting everybody they can, anybody who's vulnerable in any way. And I've got a friend whose father's the victim of some scam people right now. I don't know how they've found him. And then, talking to I know a girl who works at a bank, and she says they have customers come in all the time trying to transfer money out to people who have given them some sad story. They're just preying on the innocent and the compromised, I think.
That's such a great point to raise, and actually is a good segue pace into what my passion is, which is being president of Diversity Cyber Council. We provide cybersecurity and technology training to residents of underserved communities specifically for that fact, right? There's so many people out there that don't know the value and importance of their data. And we have kind of been um, programmed to share. We're in an oversharing society right now. Everything is
Right.
posted online, and with that, people who, as you mentioned, prey on those opportunities, they're able to leverage that data that we share to exploit opportunities and really cause harm, in terms of scamming or um, being able to forge identities and things of that nature. So I think it's important that we remain proactive about educating people about not just cybersecurity, but about privacy and data rights and things of that nature, and really preparing everyone to have some type of technology-based skill because technology is now industry agnostic. It's not its own separate industry. Technology is embedded in all that we do as a society, especially in business. So, in
Yeah.
order to remain employable, it's important that everyone learns some type of tech skill.
That's the truth. And you talk about how it's permeated everything, but I mean, even into our day-to-day home life, people stream video, they're on social media. Even just having cable for television is still technology, and that's a challenge in itself to get get a good price and get it working for you. So this underprivileged people, that's more what we talked about during the boot camp. So tell us a little bit more about what you're doing in that genre, um, with
Yeah,
that kind of.
yeah. Ultimately, myself and some other military guys, we came together because we've been operating in the tech workforce for over 20 years, and we still see a lack of representation and equitable opportunities despite the narratives of DEI. Some organizations are better practicing equity than others, but
Mhm.
we have observed ourselves that there's still a major gap. And what we said is, well, what can we do within our power? And that is when we established our 501c3 nonprofit, Diversity Cyber Council, and that's when we began conducting training for people of underserved communities and extending the opportunity for them to get industry certified and allow that to be a step in towards employment for them to enter the workforce, so we can have that diversity of thought and that leads to innovation and leads to you know more revenue for these corporations. So yeah, we just chose to do what we can within our power, and now
Yeah.
we're scaling and expanding and growing our mission. And call to action to any of your listeners out there. We're very collaborative, and we invite you all to join our campaign and grow our mission.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we all are like, uh, we get this superhero thing about ourselves. I think we're not going to die, we're not going to get
Yeah.
hacked or whatever. But it sure can happen and when you least expect it. So I think everybody, not just the compromise, even just you and me, we need to beef up our security and hold things a little tighter to our chests, right? I'm sorry, your sound is cut out. Is your microphone?
Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah,
Okay, I apologize.
it's okay.
So sanitize your social media, especially for the younger folks looking for employment, because employers do look at that kind of stuff. Just be aware of what you put out there online. Try to remain authentic, but present your best self at the same time, right? Don't put a lot of your personal information online, and learn what you can while you can, and then just take it one step at a time. Don't
Yeah,
try learn too much and feel over encumbered. Just gradually become more aware about the importance of data and privacy and things of that nature, and it'll take you a long way.
yeah, it's true. It's you know, I had a thought and it's escaped me. But being in the real estate space, I'm out there trying to be present and top of mind, for people. So I try to be out there a lot, but without giving a whole bunch of personal stuff away. It's kind of more strategic things. Like I just posted yesterday, I've read this book and I'm doing this intermittent fasting thing for women. And is there anybody who wants to join on with me and be accountability partners or something like that? But I see people posting about being on vacation while they're on vacation. And that just kind of strikes a little fear in me because that tells everyone, hey, I'm not home right now. Feel free.
Yes, well, you caught my attention on the intermittent fasting thing. I recently did started a group doing the same thing. It's like three or four of us.
Yeah.
It's so important in that, and we did our first 3-day fast I want to say, I think last month, and we got another one coming up. So, rooting for you on that, and make sure to hit me up if you need some extra accountability. But
Okay, I'll do it.
was great. Like once you accomplish that, it really
Yeah.
does.
Tomorrow is, tonight at 8 o'clock begins my first, well, it's a 48 hour, but it'll end Sunday night. So I'll be sleeping. So it's going to be longer than that anyway. So that'll be my first 2.5 day.
Yeah,
Buckle down and do it, do it, do it.
you got it. You got this. You got this.
Yeah, I've been eating some weird food, the ketogenic stuff, and then they have this hormone feasting after you do your fasting.
Yeah.
It's geared for women and our hormones, and that because we are fundamentally a little different than you guys are, so we have to attack the problem a little bit differently. But
Yes, and I've also grown, just as we talked about diet stuff, I've grown a fan of the MCT oils and like I mix that with like the mushroom coffee and yeah,
yeah,
like that has been pretty good until like noon. So that's like my breakfast. But yeah.
they call it the fat bomb with the MCT oil and the
Yeah,
grass fed milk and the coffee or the mushroom coffee. Yeah, I got
yeah.
some cup right now. And you're right, let's keep you filled up for several hours.
Yeah.
So what are some kind of goals with your company on this expansion? Are you just kind of growing organically, or do you have goals of, I don't know, I don't even know what, I don't know enough about your realm to know. Is this going to be like Norton software that you are selling to everybody to keep everyone secure, or is this lessons on the people side of things, or
It's less about providing a technology solution and more so about providing the opportunity to gain knowledge. And that's what we do through our workforce development programs is that we take people who may not know the difference between a router and a switch, and in about 5 to 6 weeks, we get you certified with the fundamentals, and then we encourage you to go to the intermediate track and get your cybersecurity certification. And from there, we help with some job placement, we help with mentorship, we even help with financial literacy. So it's a full gambit of wraparound support services, again, catered to underserved communities, low income households, because they are the people that really are in need of the equity. And again, not everybody understands equity. Like it's a buzzword that gets tossed around a lot. And I simplify the meaning of equity to say we meet people where they are instead of expecting them to meet us where we are, right? Sometimes you got to go to the trenches. Sometimes you have to go to the hood and the ghettos and things of that nature and truly understand what are the barriers. People that live there, I was one of those people, right? I was homeless. I was kicked out of high school. No one gave me a shot in the world. And I know how it feels to be utterly alone and like no one cares, right? And that is why there is importance in serving equity because you meet a person where they are in life and you breathe life, new life into them, right? So it'll totally change the trajectory of what they thought was possible. We have graduate for our program, single mothers, 3 kids, barely enough money to last a week. They passed the first program, passed the second. Now they're making $70,000, $80,000 a year, right? So that's a
wow.
complete life change.
I have some people to introduce you to. I'm on the advisory board for Big Brothers Big Sisters here in Bryan College Station. And this sounds like the population, it's an at-risk population, people that need this mentorship to get, another view of what life can be besides this self-perpetuating cycle of
Yeah.
not greatness,
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. It's tough to really expand uh personally and professionally when all you know is one thing, right?
right, right.
And not to sound the alarm, but by 2030, a lot of low skill positions are going to be automated by technology. We are entering the automated workforce phase of society, and that is where systems are going to replace people. And at
Right.
that time, as a nation, we are going to experience probably the largest amount of layoffs in our history because it's just going to be much more cost effective to implement a system than to keep a person on payroll. And again, talking about at risk, the most people, the biggest population at risk are underserved communities, people who do manual labor jobs, um, people who work in restaurant, retail industries, warehousing. All those jobs are going to be um, automated. So if they do not have a technology skill to back up on, then very likely, you know, they may be unemployed for some time. And we have to also, think about the downstream impact because if we lay off these people, um, well, one, robots and machines don't buy products and services. So we have to think about the economic impact
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
that amount of money being taken out of the economy, right? Like these
Yeah.
people are spending to fuel our economy. So when you stop paying them, then there's going to be an impact to our economy, right?
Yeah. And somebody's got to feed them. So it's not only are they not spending, they're taking more because they need more, right?
Exactly, exactly. So that is why it is essential that we move with proactivity and urgency to offset some of that potential risk so people can, transition instead of it just being, being caught off guard ultimately.
Yeah. So as you're talking, excuse me, as you're talking about, restaurants and hotels and everything being automated and computerized, I thought, man, what a lonely world that would be without having a smiling face there to greet you. And, it just takes the personableness, that just that human interaction factor out of all of our transactions. And that just seems really sad. I mean, we gripe now about bad customer service, but, it's still a person there.
Yeah, that's true. And I was just chatting up with my friend the other day, talking about, hey, do you remember before cell phones? And like, do you remember
Right.
being so excited about receiving a call? Now when you get a call, it's almost annoying. Like
Right. Possible
it,
scam, possible scam.
right,
Click,
exactly.
click, click.
Like our attitudes and behavior of society has changed so much in the last 30 years, right? This next phase is going to be like a quantum leap in terms of how we
Yeah. Yeah.
evolve as a society. But the point you mentioned about retaining our humanity is so important and vital, right? We don't want to just be a world and culture of machines without vibrancy and emotion. We want to be able to, still engage and practice our humanity and not have technology to be a barrier to humanity. So it is important. Um, One other interesting thing is like I got served at a restaurant by a robot. I want to say last week, and it totally caught me off guard. Like I seen when I came in, I seen a little machine kind of like roaming around and had food on it, and then I sat down and ordered, and I put my order on the robot. It went back there, got the food on it, came back, and it was like your food has arrived, sir. I'm like, whoa. That's crazy. And then, of course, I know everybody had this experience at the grocery stores, self-checkout, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, they're eliminating or reducing the workforce of people who do the baggage um and checkout lines. And it's just like, hey, just go do it yourself. We got the cameras. We're able to make sure that you're paying for everything, and that's that. And again, we gotta read the signs, right?
Right.
This is happening at our grocery stores, at our restaurants. What's next? And are you at risk? And how long do you have before it's not an option anymore for you to learn technology?
So thinking about the positive side of this, if these tasks are handled by computers, then what great things can the people who used to do those things focus on? Maybe saving the planet, for example, or finding ways to, clean the ocean or
That is a phenomenal point. And in my little crystal ball I'm looking at, I think that through this, after the transition, that is exactly what's going to happen. We're going to be able to focus on more of what fuels us as individuals and as a collective, to include cleaning our planet, to include space exploration, sea exploration, to include how do we create a more equitable world? But you have to think about it. For the majority of people, their a third of their life is consumed by work.
Yeah.
Work that not necessarily fuels them, right? Work that is necessary just to pay the bills and to live. And then
Yeah.
another third is for sleep. So,
And I wonder what percentage of people who are spending half of their waking hours, like getting up, getting ready for work, going to work, driving home, diffusing from work. How many people really enjoy what they do? They say if you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life, right? I worked for 20 years in jobs that did not bring me joy. And I think there's a huge portion of the population that's just in drudgery all the time. No wonder
yeah,
the people are so pissed off all the
yeah,
time, right?
yeah, I would agree fully on that. So just imagine what our world would look like when people are actually living their passion and actually living their purpose. It's just going to change moods, it's going to change attitudes, it's going to change how we engage. I think that technology has us all connected digitally, and I think workforce automation has the potential to connect us all on that human level to say, okay, now I'm being my most authentic self because I don't have to worry about money as much, right? I don't have to give a third of my life to a corporation that doesn't see me as a human being or allow me to exercise my individuality.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm able to do art, and people enjoy the art that I produce. So now it's just a momentous feeling where everything is stacked up. And like you said, I don't feel like I'm working. I'm feeling like I'm bringing my purpose to life, which is a completely change in frequency and energy. So yeah, that's cool.
It's totally awesome. This kind of change, this kind of universal change is not new and isolated. We had, first someone created the wheel and then fire and then but then the industrial revolution, that's closer to our time period. And then computers, cell phones, all that kind of thing came around in our lifetime. And now this is another thing, another advancement. Humans are just geared to improve and to do better and to learn more. And so we take what we have and then we build on that. And then it's natural that that's going to create some new world for us. And hopefully it's going to be even better than where we are now. Hopefully.
I agree. I think we are shifting from the first phase of the technology evolution, and now we're going into a more advanced phase of technology evolution. I think it's going to be four phases in total. So that just goes to show you, like, the adoption and implementation of the computer and social media, all that stuff was phase one. This next phase two, involving Web3 and workforce automation and crypto banking and things of that nature, like it's going to transform everything we know of today. And it's going to do it quickly. I mean, I really see the date of 2030 being okay, it's here. And then I see by 2035, what we know of society now is gonna make that next evolutionary step where it's no longer what it is now. It's like, okay, this is different, like verging on getting towards like the Jetsons and things
Yeah.
like that. I think China is already starting to produce flying cars.
Wow.
Like, so yeah, like, and then again, robots are going to be a natural thing in our society in the next 5 to 10 years. It's already happening. So it's our world is about to look different.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah.
My dad's an industrial engineer. He was an industrial engineer professor and he did research in that. And robotics was one of the fields that he was interested in. But as far as factory robotics, this is a totally different type of robotics. It's kind of like AI robotics, like semi-human sort of kind of robotics that are coming around.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
So it's scary and exciting to think about at the same time. I think change is always a little bit scary for people because they don't know what to expect and they're in their comfort zone. And the amygdala keeps us there, but that prefrontal cortex is bringing us forward into something new. And I guess we'll find out, Lord willing, right? What life is like 10, 15, 20 years from now.
I agree, and I would say anyone that has reservations or has a sense of fear is to increase your knowledge. Knowledge reduces fear, right? Like the more you know about what's ahead, um, the more you're able to prepare for it. And if you're properly prepared, then that means that you can, make the adjustments to be in a better position versus it having an adverse effect on you because you weren't ready.
Yeah.
Also, again, in terms of like how lucrative this next phase can be, like if you learn about technology, learn about crypto, you learn about Web3, and you start to make investments, um, we seen what the crypto thing did, right? Like the Bitcoin thing did. Like it made people overnight millionaires. That was a bit of a bubble, but for the tech innovation that is on the way, there's going to be opportunity to make a lot of money.
That's exciting. It's very exciting. So, and that, this young generation has grown up with technology. Little babies start with cell phones and iPads, right? And little gizmos. So they have a distinct advantage. At least, I guess not everybody does, right? This population that you're talking about, maybe they don't. Maybe they do. I don't know. Do they have cell phones and iPads in that world or no?
Yes, they absolutely do. And I was sharing with someone, I said that the youth ages honestly 10 to 17 are more prepared for the future of the workforce than adults aged 40 to 60. And
Yeah.
it's to your point of these kids being born almost with a phone in their hand. Like I
Right.
see my little nephew, he's 3 years old. He knows how to, go to YouTube, check out his favorite video, and they just know how to maneuver almost intuitively, and it's just like check you out, like my little tech genius, but come to find out all these little kids know how to do that. One call to action I have is, and this is one thing we're looking for corporates to sponsor, is having a laptop in the household, every household in underserved community areas, because people mostly operate off their phone, and there is a big difference between being proficient on your phone in terms of like searching for things and having digital literacy skills that transition well to the corporate workforce. So my call to action, my shameless plug is any corporates out there willing to sponsor laptops for our scholars, please reach out to us. We would love your support and participation as we make our programs more accessible and the tech workforce more accessible to people in underserved communities.
That's a great ask.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like we've kind of covered this topic pretty well. Would you mind talking about your transition a little bit? Seeing if you can explain like some of the the bad things that happened maybe and how you overcame them when you were transitioning from military to civilian?
Yes, absolutely. I come from a non-traditional background, as I stated earlier. Like I was kicked out of high school. I was just didn't have much direction, much guidance. I actually lost my main caregiver, my grandmother, um, 3 days before I went to basic training. I had a decision to make, either stay for her funeral and go to basic. I know she wanted me to uh, go to basic, so I did. But that was my very non-traditional start. And while I served, I had about two or three different MOSs. I stood steady on 25 Bravo, which is information security specialist. And overall, I enjoyed my time of service. I really did. I think it's the people that make or break your time in service. And what I really enjoyed is learning from so many people from so many different walks of life. Like me and my battle buddies, we hung out. We went to, different bars and clubs together. We celebrated. We it was family. It really wasn't, it wasn't any barriers of color or gender or any of that. It's like we were a team, we were a family, and we looked out for each other. And that was something I didn't really have growing up, like I would say consistently. So
Yeah.
I really did enjoy my time of service. But to your point, when I got out, well, that was a different story from attempting to get my service disabled status to getting proper resources to just transitioning. And it's you go from having that support to feeling that you don't have any support. And I served in the Army, and what I would say to all my veterans is don't be an army of one, right? Find out how can you be in some type of um, gain some type of support system with other people who have served, right? And don't just go anywhere. Make sure you're seen for who you are, right? Don't just sit at any table. Make sure it's a table relevant to who you are, what you are looking to pursue, and the help that you need, right? That way it'll feel aligned versus misaligned. You don't want to invite more misalignment in your life. You want to invite more alignment. So I
Yeah.
say that to say once you get out or while you're transitioning, find a plan, find a mentor, identify the resources before you ETS, have a strategic plan set up of what you want to accomplish month 1 through 12. And also, since we're talking about purpose, um, trying to jot down what you want your purpose in life to be. If you want to be a real estate mogul or if you want to be a technology professional, like write that down and, plan out, okay, month one, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to accomplish in month one. I want to, enroll in a technology boot camp. I want to get certified. I want to apply for 1,000 jobs. I want to interview for 100 because you probably got a 10% chance you get interviewed. And then I want to walk away with, 10 job offers, right? That is a strategy that I found to allow me to get my foot in the door in tech. And some people might be like, wow, I wasn't over exaggerating when I said 1,000 applications. Like literally 1,000 applications a month, then you get 100 interviews, and out of that, you might get about 5 to 10 offers. That is setting proper expectations. Fortunately, us being military veterans, we have that work ethic so we can produce that, right? Um, I do want to also hit on some of the challenges I experienced with my mental health, and that goes back to not being in the fight alone. There were experiences that I had after getting out where I just, I didn't want to be here anymore. And it was just like tough. And it was compounded because I didn't have anyone I could open up to, anyone that I felt would understand what I was going through. So that's why I said, keep not just a battle buddy, but battle buddies. Like be intentional about being like, hey, let's be there for one another and be solid on your word. Like, vets typically have that. But be solid on your word. Don't just take, also give, show up for people as you expect them to show up for you, root for people, even if it doesn't directly affect you. And just practice what you learned in service. But just what you don't want to do is just enter the wilderness alone, right? Like have a team.
Yeah. I think through these interviews, there are several points I wanted to touch on. Through these interviews, being from the outside, I'm not military. I have a lot of military people in my family, but they've never really talked about any of this, right? They were the adults and I was the child. So, um, the prevalent thought that I had was that people from the military suffered more from PTSD. But what I'm hearing more, there is PTSD, but what I'm hearing more is the loss of camaraderie and the loss of that family and that feeling of just security in the group that you have there. Whether you came from a family or not, that group is just a super intense little um, wonderful thing, and people miss that really badly when they get out. That's one point. Another one is you're talking about the 10,000 applications, to get 100 interviews, to get, maybe a job or 5 offers. That's a numbers game. And we do that same thing in real estate. We have to make so many calls, have so many appointments to get, so many clients. And what you're effectively doing when you come out of the military is you're changing careers. So anytime anybody changes careers totally, you're not going to stay at that same level usually. Some people get lucky and they do, but sometimes you have to kind of start at the beginning, like you were saying, start at the beginning, plan out what you want to do in these 12 months, to advance and get back to the level that you want to be in. And that's frustrating, I think, a lot of times to people because they want to start out, with what they've already achieved. It's just, that's the facts. I worked at the university for 20 years, had contracts experience, and knew a bunch of people and everything. And I thought it was going to be a lot easier in the real estate world. And I had a rude awakening. I had to start at the beginning, just like everybody else, got to figure out what works for you.
And it's such a cultural mindset shift because in the military, day zero, you're told what to do, how to do it, what time to be there, what to wear. And in the civilian corporate world, there isn't much of that direction, especially when you're a job seeker or a career seeker. No one's holding your hand, right? No one is even following. I mean, there's few follow-ups to either. You have to be very proactive and you have to be very on the ball and you have to be very persistent where in the military, I say our persistence is very much objective based to our mission, right? So I think that isn't always thoroughly understood on the transitioning veterans is that, hey, your new mission is get a career and support your livelihood and raise a family. Like that it's just a different set of orders, so to speak, right? So being clear on what that success looks like is undefined, which leads to the frustration. You have to define that. You're not going to be told what that is.
Right.
So the sooner that you do that, the better shape you'll be in, and then you can pursue that relentlessly. And then what you mentioned about the camaraderie is so right. Like like waking up at 5 a.m. is a pain while you're in, especially if you're hungover. But it's you miss that so much. Even 5, 10, 15 years removed. That's why when you are at a veteran event, there is almost instant camaraderie. Like we speak the lingo, we know the memories, we have this similar experience where it's just like, all right, we are, even if we served in different branches, we have that respect and that understanding of what we went through, right?
Yeah.
So that's why that call to action is to find a way to continue that, right? Like make friends, be social, and also be transparent about what you're experiencing. Don't suffer in silence. Don't suffer alone. And that, speaking on that, we are currently um, creating a program called the Veteran Sustainability Initiative. And what we uncovered in our research and due diligence is that veteran suicide, it's always been a problem, but it's on the rise more than ever. And the people that seem to be most critically affected are our female service members that have combat MOSs. Um, we know the combat MOS one is highly correlated to not finding a job because combat MOS doesn't always it doesn't have a direct relation to major corporate jobs, right? Like
Right. Yeah.
unless you're doing like policeman, bodyguard, things of that nature. We haven't really identified what's contributing to the loss of our female service members, but anyway, the numbers are there. And the Veteran Sustainability Initiative ultimately is to propose a not a boot camp, but a in the Army we call it MOS school. So a transitioning. So when you go through boot camp, you go through your MOS school where you learn your mission, occupation, specialty, what you do in the military, right? My proposal through the Veteran Sustainability Initiative is that we have a transitioning MOS school. So help to get you certified in something that you can do in the corporate workforce, right? Therefore, now when you get out, you're like, all right, well, not only did I do this in the military for 10 plus years, but I also passed the transition or did the transition program for tech, right? I have my CompTIA Security Plus. I know how to fix machines. I know how to secure machines. And here's the paperwork to prove it, Mr. Employer or Mrs. Employer.
Yes.
Now,
On that,
yeah,
sorry.
give a bigger leg up, right? Versus
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. On this podcast on YouTube, the comments, I've seen that comment a few times of we need to be taught what to do. Basically, we need a program for transitioning. We need, you know, I think the gist is that the military needs to be responsible for teaching us how to come down out of that lifestyle. I don't know if that's what it needs to be, or if it needs to be on the private side, veterans who've gone through it, who teach people, or just people who love you and care about you. I mean, that's kind of what this whole podcast is about, is touching on these pillars that are very important. And um, if these things can be mastered, then success is more guaranteed than if they're not, right? That's the effort, is to help people. So I think if we look at everything we've talked about today in your business, you threw a couple of asks out there, but if you had one big ask for what you're doing right now in your business, what would that one ask be?
Ooh, uh, what would my one ask be? My one ask would be to, if you're interested in serving the community as a community and helping to reinforce success of our underserved communities to break into the tech workforce so that they can um, be there for their families economically, reach out to us, right? Let's figure out a way to collaborate. Let's figure out a way to partner. Let's figure out a way to really build community. If you are a service member, if you're a corporate employer, if you're looking to be a sponsor or a donor, like we welcome your relationship, we welcome your contribution, and I truly know we can generate the impact nationwide if we work together. So
Yeah, that's awesome. I have a friend who his life's mission is to create 1,000 communities of 1,000 people. And his question that he asked that struck me so much was, the world would be a much better place if only blank. I need to hook you and him up, because I think he could help you with this community that you're trying to build in the way to ask and those kind of things. So let me make that connection for you. You can talk with him and see if he can be helpful to you. So that's just a thought that popped up while you were talking. And then the other question would be the one singular, if you meet somebody who's coming out and you shook their hands, said congratulations for your service and good luck in your transition, do this thing first, what would that primo piece of advice be for someone coming out fresh?
that's another good one. Oh man, you're coming with the questions today. Uh,
Because I know you have the answers.
do this thing first. What should you do first? You should.
Or what's the best piece, the strongest piece of advice, the thing to keep in mind, or just what would be the first thing that comes out of your mouth advice wise?
Find some really good mentors. That would be it. That would absolutely be it. Because the mentor, like, and when I let me define that a little bit better. A mentor is someone who has traveled the world road that you are about to venture, right? So don't just get advice from anyone. Don't just get
Yeah.
advice with from someone because they're successful. Don't get advice someone just because they're likable. Unless you have something very specific you want to learn from them, then yes. But when it comes to a mentor, they're going to help provide a light onto your path because they have been there before, right? So as an entrepreneur, I pursue mentorship with people who have been successful entrepreneurs, and they're able to educate me on saying, hey, do this, do that, do that, don't do that. But and they also allow the grace for me to be my own person. So they don't try to shape me in their image, but they attempt to guide me based on what I am aiming to establish for my legacy and my life, right?
Yeah.
So that would be my advice to any transition service members. Find a set of good mentors that you can learn from, that is trustworthy, and that has been where you are about to go.
That's excellent advice. I think the purpose of the mentor is so that you don't have to recreate the same wheels over and over again. They can help you with those wheels, and then it doesn't mean that they're going to take the work away from you. Your work belongs in your idea and your passion, and finding a way to grow that and benefit your intended avatar with what you want to do, right? That way you don't have to focus in the weeds and on the administrivia part of it so much. It's your idea and your passion. So mentors are great advice for anybody, right? Anybody
Yes.
at all. Well, I appreciate you coming on today, and I look forward to, I am going to hook you up with my friend, and I'd love to maybe involve you with my Big Brothers Big Sisters group. So we're going to talk some more, and I want to have you come back on later and talk about your progress and how things are going for you with your business. So I appreciate you so much for coming on today. Thank you. It's been a joy to see your face.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity. And if there's anything you need, feel free to reach out anytime.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, thank you, Odie. Have a great weekend.
Take care.
Thank you for tuning in. We're excited about helping ease your transition. If you're needing help or answers, please reach out. I would love to find an expert who can answer the questions in a future episode, or I can connect you with someone for more immediate help. We're here to serve you for a change. Don't be shy. My contact information is right here for you to use.